This conversation begins in the book of Acts, chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. It's where we find Apostle Luke sharing the story of a certain man who has a lame condition. This is what I call a teachable moment. Just listen to the terminology, if you will, that Apostle Luke uses describing this man and then describing this man's disability. He never puts the man's disability before the man's name or the man's gender. You know how we say a crippled man, a handicapped man, a crazy man. We use those names before we even talk about the man. We give the man's issues before we give the man's name or the man's gender. And Luke is saying, no, 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 no. If you do it that way, you take away the man's hope. Don't ever put a man's issues before his name. Think about this. The measure of our words can sometimes knock what I call the mental edge off of that thing, off of that disability that someone might have. Because what you're telling them is that you might have a disability, but the disability does not have you. And that's what Luke is showing with us. Luke is saying he's calling those things that be not as though they were. That's what Luke is doing. What are we doing? Are we speaking hope to people? Or are we speaking damnation to people? We need to check ourselves. Luke is saying, let's speak hope. Let's speak peace to people. Yeah, we have all had what I call some form or some type of disability for a season. If you've ever had a cold, if you've ever had a fever, if you've ever had surgery, you've had a disability. You've been disabled for a short spell. So we can relate to someone with a disability. You know how we go to a store and they got all those parking spots out front and they said disabled parking? It used to say handicap, but they mostly say disabled now because that's the right term to use nowadays is disabled, not the word handicap, not the word cripple. Someone has a disability. And you always put the person before the disability. Just a little teachable moment for you as well. You always say that person with a visual disability. Put the person first. Yes, that's the right terminology. That's the right language to speak. But you know, when we're at the store, we see all these spots, parking spots, and they say disabled parking. And we see someone get out of the car and run into the store and they run back. And the first statement we make is, that person ain't disabled. That person is lying. Well, no, the person is not lying. The person more than likely have what I call a hidden disability. That person could have cancer. That person could have lupus. That person could have high blood pressure or diabetes. That person could have a whole host of issues or concerns that's hidden. You see, everything that's disabled doesn't show it on the outside. Everybody's not walking with the limp, or everybody's not crawling or scooting around or have one arm. Some people have what we call hidden disabilities. Let's be for real. There's more disabilities than just physical disabilities. There's emotional disabilities. There's behavioral disabilities as well. Go with me to the book of Acts now as I read from Acts chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. Now Peter and John went up together into the temple at the hour of prayer, being the 9th hour. Verse 2, and a certain man lame from his mother's womb was carried, whom they laid daily at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful, to ask alms of them that entered into the temple. Verse 3, who seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple asked an alms. Verse 4, and Peter, fastening his eyes upon him with John, said, look on us. Verse 5, and he gave heed unto them, expecting to receive something of them. Verse 6, then Peter said, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. Verse 7, and he took him by the right hand and lifted him up, and immediately his feet and ankle bones received strength. Verse 8, and he leaping up stood and walked, and entered with them into the temple, walking and leaping and praising God. And all the people saw him walking and praising God. Verse 10, and they knew it was he which sat for alms at the beautiful gate of the temple, and they were filled with wonder. And they were filled with wonder and amazement. And they, the people inside the church, were filled with wonder and amazement at that which had happened unto him. Apostle Luke is sharing with us that Peter and John are coming to prayer service. that they had just finished, Peter and John had just finished with the other disciples from receiving the precious gift of the Holy Ghost. And Peter had just spoken to the people about repenting for the remission of their sins. But they're still coming to prayer service. Yeah, they've worked all day. They're tired just like you and I. But they're coming to prayer service. You know, we have a good feel of going to church on Sundays. We do. And some of us will go to church to Bible study on Wednesdays. But hardly any of us will show up for prayer service. And the Bible tells us that men must continually pray. We must always be praying. Prayer gives you a conscience. Yeah, prayer will reset you. It will check you. Yeah, prayer will give you a whole different resolve, if you will. But most of us are not praying during the course of the day. So Tuesday night's prayer service is much needed for all of us. But most of us are not going. And most of us dare not pray during the course of the day. We just go through our day, moving and moving. Here are the disciples. Here are the apostles, Peter and John, coming to prayer service. Wow. What a great example for all of us. We should all be in what I call prayer service. And they're coming before this gate of beautiful. This man who has a lame condition is sitting before the gate. Now, he's been there. He's like in a wheelchair sitting in front of the potter's house. He's sitting there, and the church people are walking right by him every single service. Now, I'm not saying you're not putting something in his cup. You might be giving him a penny or a dollar, whatever, but you're not really giving him what he really needs because you're not spending any time with him. So you're not asking him what he really needs. You're just giving him what you're willing to give him so you can keep on going and ignoring your own issues in life. But Peter and John, they stop as they come, and he's calling out their name. He's calling out for them. Isn't it something when someone can see something in you that you can't see in yourself? That's what Peter and John does. They look at him. They spend time with him. They give him attention. And the Bible tells us that he fastened his eyes upon them. Isn't it something? He's gazing at them. He's staring at them because they seem to have something more than what everyone else has been trying to give him or trying to pour into him. Peter told him that what he's asking for, silver and gold. Peter said, we have none, but we do have what you need, and we have who you need. Isn't that a powerful statement? We don't have what you're asking for, but we do have what you need. And we do have who you need. Sometimes all it takes is a right hand of fellowship to lift someone up out of their situation. It's not always about money. Sometimes it's just about love. Yeah, showing that you believe in me more than I believe in myself. I just need someone to believe in me. That's what Peter and John did. Peter and John poured into him that they believed in him. And guess what? The Bible tells us that Peter reached down with his right hand and told the man to get up. And the man's legs started strengthening themselves, and he stood up. Wow, what a blessing. That could have happened a long time ago, but no one ever gave him a hand. We were just trying to give him a handout, not a hand up. Peter gave him a hand up. Yeah, the man who was lame jumped up, the Bible says, and gave God the praise for his healing and his deliverance. That's what he did. I pray that you don't just walk by people all the time. Yes, and all they're asking for, hey, is a conversation, is a word from God. They're asking for you to pour into them, not so much to give them a penny or a dime. They're saying, I just need some of your time. I pray you slow down. Yes, we're all moving at a quick pace. Slow down. Listen to what God is saying to you. Yeah, isn't it something though? How God can flip the script sometimes? The people in the church, the Bible tells us they were wondering, they were amazed at him walking in with Peter and John. And this man had been amazed at them walking. God had blessed them with the ability to walk for many years, walking right by him. That day in that church, guess what? He did more for them than they could ever do for him. Because they were walking by him because he had a physical disability and they could see it and the world could see it. And they wouldn't stop and help him. It's like a homeless person sitting in front of the potter's house. And nobody stops and help him because he looks filthy. He doesn't look like he's in his right mind. So no one wants to spend any time with him. But you're walking by him every day, going into that church and not getting what you really want because guess what? You've got a hidden disability. Something inside of you is not right. You're going inside that building with anger and hate. You're going to a building with jealousy and malice in your heart, with cancer in your body, with diabetes and with high blood pressure. You got all kind of stuff inside of you. But because we can't see it, you pass right on by. You're disabled just like him. It's just that we can't see it. You're a hypocrite. You're walking by him, walking into the church, asking God for deliverance, and you're not asking God for deliverance for that man. God is saying, go and help him, and then I can help you. Help somebody who can't help themselves, and maybe then you can get help for yourself. But he blessed them more than they could ever bless him because he made them see themselves. They were amazed at him jumping up and walking. Wow. Isn't that something? That someone on the outside of the door can come inside the church and set the church on fire. This man with a lame issue set the church on fire that day. There was a revival in every pew. They were jumping up and screaming and hollering because of this wonderful thing that God had done. You see, sometimes God will use something on the outside of you to get on the inside of you to set you ablaze. Don't walk past your blessing. Stop. I'm not saying get involved in every situation. I'm just simply saying, but give your attention to the situation. Don't just walk by and ignore it. You see, these people, they took walking for granted. Yes, they felt entitled to walk because they've always walked. Don't take walking for granted. Don't take talking for granted. Don't take your life for granted because you never know what can happen to you tomorrow. You see, we all have some type of, I call it a seasonal disability. Something always happens that has us disabled for a moment. And so we all can relate to this man who has this disability. Yeah. You see me now as an executive, but you missed my disability back then where I started. Yeah, you see me now. But go back then where I started, because my disability back then could have become a liability for me right now if I didn't know how to measure it, if I didn't know how to monitor it, if I didn't know how to deal with it. Yes, you see, David, if you didn't read the story about King David and you got way up into the Samuel or the second book of Kings and you read about King David and all of his blessings, you would think that King David was always a king. You would think that his father Jesse was a king. Jesse's wife was a queen. You would think that his sons were prince and his daughter were princess. But no, David was a shepherd boy. His father was a farmer. David wasn't a king. He built up to being a king because God blessed him. You see, we like to see people where they are, and we don't like to go back and see where they came from. That's our problem. We see our story here, but we forget about the story where it started from. Yeah, you know my right now, but you don't know my back then. So let me share with you my emotional disability that I received in the 10th grade. I went out for the basketball team, and keep in mind, I'm just being honest, transparent, I wasn't that good. I was about 5'7", 5'8" at the most. I was a pencil of a guy. I was really thin, but I love basketball. And so I went out for the team, and I knew I wasn't going to make varsity. That wasn't going to happen. I knew I wasn't going to make JV, no, but I wanted to make the sophomore team. It's called the B team. And I thought I had a good chance because my coach from junior high had just been promoted over to the high school, and he was going to be the B team coach. Now, I didn't play in junior high. I played one game. That's all I got in was one game. And I'm just being honest, I just wasn't that good. So a whole lot of players a lot better than me, taller and better and bigger, faster. But I tried hard. I really tried. And so I finally realized that from all my efforts, my name was on the list. I had made the B team. So the day of the first game, this is where it all started. We were all in the locker room, and coach was giving us all of our jerseys and our shorts to wear. And everybody was excited. Come on, you got a whole bunch of kids, 10th graders, and they're all happy and excited. And we were just energetic, and everybody put a uniform on, and they were all just happy and smiling. Everybody was just, and I was happy because I had my uniform. I was a Hobbs equal. I was just as happy as I could be. And then I noticed that the kids started looking at me and they started laughing at me. They started mocking me, if you will. I kept trying to figure out what's going on. Well, they just kept looking at me, and so I went over to the mirror and I looked at myself. And I had a jersey on that was the same color, but it was like an older jersey, like from back in the 1950s. And everyone else had on these pristine jerseys. And I realized that coach had given me the wrong jersey. So I approached him. I said, Coach, do you realize I have on a different jersey? And he says, no, that's your jersey. That's your uniform. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm 15 years old. And I was so heartbroken that a grown man, a coach, mentally, emotionally disabled me. All the children was mocking. Coach even snickered when I came to him, as if he knew what he was doing. And I was so torn up inside. I was just devastated. And I'm crying inside, but I can't let it out because all the kids are laughing. I don't want to be a laughing. So, Donnie was crying. I didn't want that to come out. So I just wore the uniform. And so when we got ready to go out, of the locker room into the gym, I told Coach, can I use the restroom right quick? And so everyone ran out. He said, yeah, go ahead and hurry up. And so I knew I would have to run through the gym, and all my cousins would be watching and looking in the big gym because we were all going to the back gym. That's where the B team played. And so I couldn't afford to walk out in front of all that crowd and just be mocked. I had been mocked enough. I was trying to figure inside of myself, what did I do wrong? And so I lied. I didn't have to use the restroom. When everyone left the gym, I looked around to make sure no one was around. I pulled off the uniform. I folded it up neatly because I told you I love the Hobbs Eagles. So I folded up the uniform and I laid it down on the bench, the shorts and the jersey. I didn't throw it in the trash. I didn't throw it on the floor. I told you I love the Hobbs Eagles. I put it on the bench. David, the shepherd boy David. David could have killed King Saul a long time ago, but he didn't. On several occasions he had an opportunity, but he didn't because David loved God so much. And he loved God's appointed king, King Saul, so much that he refused to take his life. I'm not comparing myself to King David, don't get me wrong, but I'm just telling you the segue of how somebody can hurt you so bad, who you love so much. I love the Hobbs Eagles. I love that coach. I mean, I had no problem with him. But what he did to me, how he mocked me, how he scorned me, he stained me for a lifetime. Here it is 45 years later, and I'm still talking about this story. That story messed with me emotionally. Let me tell you what I did. I walked out the back door. I quit the team. And I was walking home, and I didn't go the short route like you normally do. I went all the way around to Seminole Highway because I didn't want anyone to see me, to ask me any questions of, aren't you supposed to be playing? And so I walked all around the highway. And I got 2 blocks away from my house. Now keep in mind, I am outside walking, and I'm crying, and I'm asking why. I'm asking myself a ton of questions. What did I do wrong? What did I say? Did I say something? Did someone say something about me? Does Coach know the truth? I mean, what happened? Why did he give me this uniform? Why did he mock me in such a way? And so as I'm walking home by myself, I'm lost. They didn't want me, is the way I felt. As I'm walking home, I'm 2 blocks away, and I realize that I can't go home because my mother and my sisters and brothers are there, and they're waiting to see how things went today, and they would realize that the game is not over yet. So I can't go home. So I'm stuck between 2 places. I can't go back to the gym because they didn't want me. And now, if I go home, I don't know if my family will want me. Keep in mind, guys, I'm 15 years old, and this is how a 15-year-old mind thinks. I don't feel like I'm wanted. So I'm lost. I'm lost. And for an hour, I'll walk around. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just walking. The hand of God. All Peter asked the man who was lame, take my hand. The hand of God. I'm telling you, I don't know how it happened. I wasn't in church. I wasn't saved. I wasn't going to church. But the hand of God walked me around Hobbs, New Mexico for about an hour. I was lost and I was wondering. And the hand of God moved me to the boys' club. As I was talking to some other children upstairs, I heard this basketball bouncing downstairs. Boom, boom, boom. And so I went to peek in the door to see who was in there. And I seen my cousin Lee Lewis, we call him Matt D. And I seen Larry McCrimmon. And they were there with the junior college team, and they were just playing pickup games. And they seen me peeking through the door. And Larry asked me, Donnie, do you want to play? I had just left the high school where they didn't want me. I didn't go home because I didn't know if I was wanted there. I was lost. Keep in mind, I'm 15 years old. And I'm at the boys' club, and someone seemed like they want me. And I said, yes, I'll play. What would have happened to my life if I wouldn't have said, yes, I will play? I don't know. I don't know if I could go. I was going to hide out for some hours before I went home. So I don't know what would have happened, but I don't think it would have been good. What would have happened if this man who was lame sitting at this gate wouldn't have taken Peter's hand? He'd have still be laying at that gate right now. But I said yes. That man who was lame said yes. I said yes to play with these guys. These were junior college guys. So watch this. I wasn't going to make the varsity. I wasn't going to make the JV. And I would have settled for the B team. But they mocked me. And so I ran away. And the hand of God detoured me over to the boys' club where somebody wanted me. They don't know to this day, I've never told them, but they more than likely saved my life by showing me that somebody wanted me. Now the rest of the story is history. Those guys taught me how to play basketball. These are men, these are junior college players. They taught me how to play the game of basketball. Until where the next year I was one of the best players in the state of New Mexico. You see what God can do? God's hand was upon me even though I didn't see it. I'm full of tears, I'm full of shame, I'm full of doubt, I'm full of questions. I'm lost, I'm 15 years old, and I'm by myself. I've never told my parents what happened to me. I just told them that it just didn't work out. And I played for the boys club that whole year, and I became a force in basketball because God had his hand upon me. I'm telling you, all we need in life is for someone to show that they care. Be careful letting your children be coached by coaches who are telling you stuff like, I'm going to break them so I can make them. That's not their job. That's your job as a parent. Your job is to make sure you treat your child with dignity and respect. My story is no different than yours. You've got a story similar. Someone emotionally disabled you, but you've got to be careful. There's an old proverb, if you will, it says, eat the fish and spit out the bones. You got to know how to take in good information, all the information, discard that you don't need because it's not for you. I realized that the people who put me down in the neighborhood, those were people who had limitations and they wanted to give me their limitations. They wanted to disable me like they had been disabled. They weren't trying to enable me, to enhance me. They were trying to turn me down. The people who I respect in my neighborhood, the disenfranchised people, yeah, those people who were alcoholics, those people who were drug addicts, those people who were drug dealers, those were the people who encouraged me the most, who told me, no, you can't come over here. You go, no, you got something inside of you. They seen something in me. People who are down themselves seen something in me, and they pushed me away from them. No, you stay from over here. You keep on moving. You keep going forward. Be careful allowing your children to be taught by someone else. Make sure that you encourage your child, because that's what most of us need, is just an encouraging word, an encouraging voice. I don't need you to do anything for me. Just speak life into me. Don't speak and disable me. No, enable me. Yeah. They gave me what I needed at the time that I needed it the most. They encouraged me and made me believe in myself. Yeah. Peter and John gave the man who was lame what he needed. A hand up, not a handout. They gave him their attention on the outside of the church, and a miracle took place on the inside of the church. A revival broke out in the pews. Be careful who you allow to speak into your children, because adults have hidden disabilities, and they would try to push those onto your child if you don't watch out. Be very careful. Yeah, some of you right now don't have a father, and so you feel lame. Some of you don't have a mother, and you feel lame. Some of you are depressed, and you feel lame. Some of you are suicidal, and you feel lame. Some of you have had a miscarriage, and you feel lame. Some of you have lost loved ones to this pandemic, and you feel lame. Some of you have lost loved ones just because it's the course of life, and you feel lame. Yeah. Your victory is just one encouraging word from turning your life completely around. For he who has begun a good work in you will see it through until the end. I pray that this message has been a hand of encouragement to you, to lift you up out of the issues in life that you've been going through. Be like the man who was lame. Allow someone to bless you. Allow someone to encourage you. Yeah, weeping may endure for a night, but guess what? Joy comes in the morning. Don't forget Romans 10:9. Confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord. And guess what? You too shall be saved. Enable someone today. Be blessed. God is God.